When you're booking using your points and miles, there is very little relevance to the cost of the ticket. Now, there'll be a lot of people listening to this that will be shaking their heads going, that's not true. If it's a more expensive flight, I use more points. Then you are using your points incorrectly.
On today's episode, I am excited to welcome I will say a points guru, a points expert. Welcome to the podcast, Owen.
I'm excited. Because we spoke, how long? It must have been about a month ago now.
Yes.
And we were kind of like, what would we do together? How could I bring value? Da, da, da. And then we realized lots of ways. Lots of ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have you here. Why don't you tell the listeners a little about yourself?
Sure. For those that don't know me, I am known as the Points Partner. And what I do is I help individuals maximize their credit card benefits. And I help people get as many credit card points and air miles as is mathematically possible for their lifestyle. And then I teach them how to use said points efficiently. In other words, I put people on beds on planes for free. That is what I do for a living. And I do that in lots and lots of different ways. It's the same juice supplied in lots of different cartons, essentially. So I have a large following online, about 500,000 followers across all the different platforms. And I post free tips every single day of the week. So if you're not already following me, at the Points Partner on your favorite platform, as they say. I have online courses. I have free hour-and-a-half fly free academy that you can go watch on my website. There is a longer upgraded paid version of that. There is private consultations, one-on-one Zoom calls with business owners. I have my own community called the Inner Circle where we meet on Zoom every couple of weeks, and private Facebook groups, and we go away on trips together. I've got finding flights for people using their points, booking flights for people using their points, literally anything from your credit profile, your credit score, credit cards, points, miles, air miles, hotels, getting to the airport for free, getting through security quickly, getting to airport lounges, beds on planes, and everything the other side and back again. That's what I do, and I'll do it for you in any way you like it.
I love it. And well, that really sums it up. So I think we're done here.
We're done here. It was great hanging out. Take care.
As Owen said, we talked about a month ago, and I think we talked 15, 20 minutes. And in that space of time, which I don't even think you intended to, but you gave me so many nuggets, including flagged me to a deal with transferring points from Chase to Virgin. I did it and booked tickets for the holidays to go to the Christmas markets and go to London. So thank you very much. So I'm super excited about all the things we're going to talk about today and how all those things that you were just saying, I think can really help families travel. And if you go follow Owen, I will say, I want to travel like Owen does all the time. On every long haul flight, you'll see he sleeps well and he eats well. As he said, there's so many ways he can help you. So let's get into it. I think like right now we're seeing travel is getting more expensive. You know, whether it's fuel, baggage prices, all of those things, you can leverage your points to book travel.
Absolutely. The starting point when anyone says, oh, prices have gone up since COVID or prices have gone up because of the Strait of Hormuz, my immediate response to that is, oh, that's a shame if you're buying tickets, but I use points, so it doesn't make a difference.
So it doesn't matter. There you go.
I hope they make it $100,000 to get on any plane. It makes zero difference to my life. When you're booking using your points and miles, there is very little relevance to the cost of the ticket. Now, there'll be a lot of people listening to this that will be shaking their heads going, that's not true. If it's a more expensive flight, I use more points. Then you are using your points incorrectly. And I'll start with probably the fundamentally most important thing that everyone needs to know about points and miles, which is there are two different ways that you can use your points. The first way is you can use them within your credit card company's travel portal, is what they call it. In reality, it's the button that says travel. And all that is a paid ticket. You are buying your travel, but instead of using dollars, you're using 100 times the amount in points. So a $1,000 flight becomes a 100,000 point flight. The second way that you can use your points, and the better way that you can use your points, is to transfer your credit card points into airlines where they magically become air miles. And if you do that at the right time, there are bonuses, and the pricing once those miles arrive has no relevance whatsoever to the cost of the ticket. And you can get beds on planes like the one you see behind me all day long, every day. And I do. I lead by example and show everyone how it's done on a day-to-day basis. So anyone who is concerned about the price of flying is using their points fundamentally incorrectly to begin with.
Really good point. So
Really good point
that's
on
a
points.
yeah, exactly. A lot of people feel like, oh, points, oh, it's too complicated. It's not for me. I don't have an American Airlines or Delta or Virgin credit card. So, I mean, I can't get in the points travel game, but that's a myth, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the starting point is most people don't value points or air miles. They're like, oh no, I just have a debit card or I just have like a cashback card. And the implication is that it's an equal value. They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with the hassle of points and blackout dates. I'll just take the cash, implying that the cash is worth the same. It is not. 1% cashback on a dollar that you spend on your credit card is not worth the same as one air mile, that is not worth the same as one credit card point, that is not worth the same as one hotel point. And I will super quickly just tell you the value of those so people can see the difference. 1% cashback is worth 1 cent on a dollar. One hotel point is worth 0.4 to zero point 0.6 cents. One air mile, depending on the airline that you're getting it with, is worth 0.6 to 1.2 cents. And one credit card point used badly is worth 1 cent, but used the way that I use them can be worth as much as 10 cents. So fundamentally, essentially, you can 10x the amount of free travel you're getting by using your points correctly. It's not necessarily how many points you've got, it's what points you've got and what you do with them. And one of the easiest ways to increase the value is these transfer bonuses. So if you have the right credit card for your lifestyle, and we'll talk about choosing credit cards in just a second. If
Right.
you have the right credit card or credit cards for your lifestyle, and you transfer your points at the right time, you, before you've even started to look for flights, have 10 times the amount of free travel than your next door neighbor. And that's just the starting point. And then when I start getting into the detail of how to search, instead of searching round trip, search one way. Instead of searching from this place, search this way. We can start to increase it further again. Backtracking slightly to credit cards, right? So the easiest way for everyone to earn points is by having the right credit card. Well, there are 3,000 credit cards in America, so how do you pick the right one? Well, the
Right.
last thing that you want to do is pick up something that comes in the mail. Those things that you see in the mail, those mailers, they are predatory. They're not even from credit card companies or banks. They are from third-party marketing companies. And in the small print, they kind of screw you over 20 which ways from Sunday. The second thing that you don't want to do is go online and say, help me choose a credit card. You will end up on a plethora of very, very highly advertised people that make money from quote unquote choosing or selecting credit cards for you. You certainly don't want to go to your local credit card company or your local bank because they're only going to sell you what they've got. What you really need is someone who's completely independent, who can be your partner in points and tell you what would suit you best without leaning towards one particular credit card company or another. And I will say from a generic standpoint, as somebody who does this for a living, I do calls all day long, every day, just with people for 10 minutes and them saying, okay, I spend $3,000 a month. It's mainly on food. We live in Denver. We like to travel twice a year. What do we do? And I ask them a bunch of questions and I kind of direct them, get this credit card and then get this credit card in this order on these links to do that, to get this. All credit card companies have a value. There is not one that is better than another. There may be one that is better for you than another, and that will depend on a multitude of things. Those things generally are how much money do you spend a month? Where do you spend your money is the most important thing. If you're spending your money on food and drink, the credit card that you need is different to someone who's spending it on medical services or who's spending money at Target, Amazon, Best Buy, Lowe's, Home Depot, online purchases, gas, water, electricity, lawyers, doctors. All of these different categories deserve, in the ideal scenario, their own credit card. Now, obviously, you can't have a million credit cards.
Right.
I do because I've been doing this a long time. I have 49 credit cards. Uh,
49?
I do. That doesn't mean that you should. And the average person that comes to me that spends under $7,000 or $8,000 a month should have somewhere between two and four credit cards, depending on who, what, where, do they own a business, how much do they spend, how many kids, blah, blah, blah. Do you need lounge access? There's a lot of different things that come into play. And I can ask the right questions and see them off in the right direction. Secondary to that, you don't ever want to earn all of your points in one place. Few reasons for that. One, at any moment, they can devalue these points and you could get screwed. So you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. Second of all, you might make a mistake or there could be an issue and they could take your points away from you. Third reason is each credit card company has their own transfer partners. They work with certain airlines and hotels. You are excluding yourself from a lot of deals by not having a multitude of different credit cards. I have all the credit cards. Now, there are some that I prefer than others, but that's my lifestyle and you may be different. And lastly, each credit card company has different bonuses to different airlines each month. So by having all of the major credit card companies, you're giving yourself the opportunity to win every single month, not just some months of the year.
That's interesting because it's just like the tip you gave me. And I did not realize that I could get that bonus when I transferred the points from my Chase card over to the Virgin portal
Yeah.
and use them like that. And I had to transfer probably a quarter of what I thought I was going to have to get the flights that I wanted.
The fundamental education point is learning this stuff. There's a lot to learn. I built this kind of online course about 5 or 6 years ago during the pandemic. It kind of went viral and I ended up on Good Morning America. And it's just an hour and a half to teach you the basics of how this stuff works. Once you understand the basics, you can go off and start to play this game on your own. But to do it at a high level, when people see my Instagram and they see me on beds on planes every day of the week, they're like, how do I do that? Well, that's obviously a ninja level. But
Right.
what is required for that is not a new skill set. What is required for that is community. With the amount of credit card companies, banks, airlines, credit cards, frequent flyer programs, deals, cashback sites, there's so much information, so much news every day. There's no way that one individual could stay on top of it all. I can't even stay on top of it all. I have 3 assistants around the world just monitoring all this stuff, bringing the best of the best back to me so that when I do these inner circle Zoom calls every couple of weeks, I can keep people up to date on the very latest hacks and ways of doing things, new relationships, new bonuses. I have a meeting tomorrow night. I was just putting together some notes and I just came across there's a new bank that if you open it up tomorrow, you get $850 just for opening up a bank account. Doesn't cost you anything. So, and
Wow.
there are these deals week in, week out, day in, day out. And being a part of a community allows you to get to that kind of ninja level. It's not a skill set. It's the same skill set that I taught 10 years ago. It's
Right.
just doing it with friends, essentially.
I think that's the hard part. I'm subscribed to several of the emails that tell you what I guess you're supposed to do. Then you have to read it every day, and it's just a lot of information. So being able to tap into something that, if you want to be ninja about it, there's a way to do that. We talked about like the misconception around this is for the elite, this is for the people who spend a lot on travel, but that's not true. What other kind of misconceptions do you find
Well,
that people have?
the first major misconception is the value, which we just spoke about, right? So
Right.
most people don't think there is a value in points and miles to begin with. And once they do realize that there is a value, it's then the process of learning the two different ways through the portal, which is easy and expensive, and then transferring out, which is slightly more complex, but the value is massively there. The third step, the next rung, is how to search and book these flights. Most people grew up the same way that you and I did. We were taught always book a round trip, it's cheaper. And if you're buying a ticket, that's absolutely correct. But we're not buying tickets. These are mileage tickets. The rules are completely different. You're better off searching and booking one way. You have different rules around them. You can cancel them up until 24 hours before you fly. Most people assume that you're traveling from A to B. Well, yes, you are traveling from A to B, but if there's a better deal traveling from A to B to C, you might want that. Your
Right.
your average flight that I find for someone is like someone out the East Coast who wants a bed on a plane going to Europe this summer, right? Okay,
Right.
great. So if you want to fly out of New York and that's where you live, sure. In this example, it's 120,000 points for a bed on a plane the day that you want going into Paris. But out of Washington, there's one for 60,000 points. Would you rather fly out of Washington, right? Or perhaps let's make it more extreme so that we can understand this. Perhaps flying from JFK to Paris is 300,000 points, but flying to London is only 40,000 points, and you can fly from London to Paris for 5,000 points. So, like, it starts to become a bit more. Well, what is it that you want? Is it you want a good price? You want to get there quickly? Obviously, we all want a free, perfect flight, but that doesn't always exist, especially when
Right.
you're traveling as a family. And this is the fun game that I do with families because families are the ones that struggle the most because they can only go
Yes.
when the kids are out of school. They're
Right.
looking for the most amount of availability. It's the hardest thing to do. They've left it late because they weren't sure if Timmy was going to play soccer and da 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 da. I know, I have kids myself. I've been there
Yep.
and done it. So here are kind of like the absolute pillars for families. Number one, book 11 months in advance. It doesn't matter if you know if you can go or not because you can cancel it up until 24 hours before. So at the end of this summer, book next year's trip to Europe. Doesn't matter where in Europe, you can get a small flight when you get there, but book your beds on planes for all four of you or however many there are of you. And if nearer the time it doesn't work out, you can click a button and for $50 you can cancel it all out and get your miles back. But my
Okay.
guess is you'll make it work and you'll fly into wherever the hell you book tickets and then you'll a supporting flight for $200 to where it is you want to go. That's the number one tip. Number two tip is you don't need to find the amount of mileage tickets than there are people in your family. So, for example, let's say there's five of you. Very hard finding five sale price mileage tickets in the middle of the summer. I do it all day long, but it's
Right.
tough. What you can do is search for perhaps just over half of those. So search for maybe three. And if you find three, great. See if there's a fourth ticket, see if there's a fifth ticket. If there's not, which there probably isn't, no problem. Book those three and then book the other two through the portal, which will be more expensive. But as long as there's space on the plane, you'll be able to buy with your points through the portal in your credit card company. And although you've paid more, when you average out the cost amongst the five of you, it brings it way back down. So you'll end up paying maybe 60, 70% of what you should have done. Or you can look at it as you paid an extra 20, 30% to get it done, right?
Right.
However you want to look at it. But that's kind of one of the easiest ways to do it. Or another way of doing it is perhaps find three or four of them and then just purchase the last one.
Last one.
The only thing to be careful of is you cannot put minors or non-adults on mileage tickets by themselves. So when you come to book this, always make sure when you're booking the mileage tickets, you put the kids with an adult and then put the other adult on the paid one or through the portal or however it is that you're going to do it. Those are kind of like the starting points of understanding this stuff. Then we can start to kind of take it to the next level, which is okay,
Right.
which one of these credit card companies is moving points to where, and how can you book who from what from where? It starts to get very granular, and I don't want to kind of throw anyone off after 20 minutes, start, throwing them
Yes.
down the deep end. But fundamentally, all of these airlines work in big groups called alliances, and there's three big alliances that represent 98% of all the flights on Earth. And you can more or less book any of them from any of them. So, for example, United is a part of Star Alliance, which represents almost 44% of all the flights in the skies. In other words, if you have some United miles, you can book almost half of all the flights in the skies. You don't just book United on United, you book all their partners, Lufthansa and Air Canada and a whole bunch of other people. Delta is a part of SkyTeam. SkyTeam represents about 30% of all the flights in the skies. Right. So when you're
Right.
searching on Delta, you're not just looking at Delta, you're looking at Virgin Atlantic, KLM, Air France, Aeromexico, so on and so forth. And the same for American Airlines. When you're searching in American Airlines, you're searching the whole of One World, which is their alliance, which includes Qantas, British Airways, Qatar, Alaskan, Japan Air, and a bunch of other people. So fundamentally, as long as you've got a way to get into each alliance, you're already searching all the flights on Earth. Now, the pricing, the more places you can get into, the more better pricing you can find. So, for example, in the case of American Airlines, you might find better pricing on British Airways for the same exact flight. That's when it starts to become, well, who transfers to British Airways? Well, as it happens, all the major credit card companies transfer to British Airways. But it can start to get a bit granular. So, for example, you might find a great flight on Delta and only American Express transfer directly to Delta. That doesn't mean that if you don't have American Express, you can't fly Delta. It means you're just going to have to book it through Virgin Atlantic or through Air France, and the price may be better or worse. And the same with United. Only the big blue bank that rhymes with face and begins with C, they're the only ones that transfer to United. But it's
Yes.
cheaper to book United flights on Air Canada. So you don't even need that anyway. So it starts to become a bit more complex.
Yeah, and you have to play around with it. And like you said, it depends on what your goals are. Again, with families, it might be I want to get there the easiest way possible, right? Like we were just booking with my in-laws and I wanted to go out of Tampa direct to London. If it was my husband and I, we might go up to DC or take a different flight, but those are the flights that we wanted because we knew it would be easier for my in-laws and for us. And so it was like, how can I get the best use of my points, with that? If somebody wants to kind of hang up with this, they're inspired, they want to just dabble out there and see what happens, where would be a great place to start?
Yeah. The starting point is to have the right credit cards. And I'm super, I guess, generous with my time on that because I have a vested interest in the long term. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you're not sure if you have the right credit cards, reach out to me. I'll send you a link for a 5-minute Zoom call. I won't charge you anything and I'll get you the right credit cards. Now, it's selfish that I'm doing that because I want you to have as many points as possible. I'm your points partner. Why? Because once you have lots of points, you're going to want to travel. And when you're going to want to travel, you might want me to find your flights or book them for you, or you might want to watch an online course and learn how to do it yourself, or it might become your new hobby and you want to come and join my inner circle. So your starting point is choose the right credit cards. If you're not sure if you have the right credit cards, which most people don't, I can tell you 99% of people that call me don't have the right credit cards. They think they do. They're like, oh, I'm getting 3 times points or 4 times points on this or that. Most of my spend, I get 5 times points. And there's very few people that can do that. It just depends on where you spend your money. So for most people, it's food, drink, gas, travel, marketing, office supplies. And for all of those places, there are hacks and ways of doing things where you can increase the amount of points that you get. And that's what I do. I help people do that. So starting point is choose the right credit card. Reach out to me if you need help with that. Second kind of step is to decide whether you want to do this yourself or you want someone to do it for you. If you want to give it a go yourself, there's a free course on my website called the Fly Free Academy. Go watch that, binge watch that. It's about an hour and a half. If you are into it, you're learning from it, you understand it, then go ahead, watch the full course that I think is 6 or 7 hours and you'll be up and away. If you watch that first 90-minute thing or you don't make it through the 90 minutes, then my advice to you is to have me find your flights and book them for you. And I get a lot of people that do that. A lot of people don't want to deal with this. They're not passionate like you and I are.
Right.
They just want to go to Italy this summer and they don't want to pay for it. And that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're here to help you. So you can go on my website, thepointspartner.com. You can fill out the travel form. It takes 10 seconds. And I or one of my staff will get back to you in the next 24 hours and say, hey, here are your options for Italy this summer. Which one do you want to do? Click this button, give me this password, and boom, 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 and away you go. And what tends to happen is people do that for a couple of years, and then they come back and they're like, okay, I don't really want to pay you anymore to do this for me. How do I do it? And then we start again, right?
Right.
So fundamentally, there is a lot of information around this stuff. We can do it for you. We can teach you how to do it. You can go do it yourself. You let me know how I can best serve you, and we'll do that. But fundamentally, and this is really the important part, is that people need to understand there is tremendous amount of free travel that is available to you that people just don't exercise because there's no one who it pays them to do that. Doesn't help the credit card companies to tell you how to screw them, doesn't help the banks to tell you how to screw them, and the airlines are not going to teach you how to screw them. It requires a third party who has a vested interest. And I've created that vested interest by essentially making it a business and saying, I'm your partner, you pay me, and I'll show you how to hack it all, essentially.
Go to Owen's website. Like he said, he has that form. Honestly, your rates are super reasonable too. I'm sure listening today, people have taken some things away, especially if they're interested in the topic, because like I said, you just ooze advice and you helped me. And I know what I want to do is have a session with you. Do I have the right cards? And I literally was going to call you and say, here's my points, book these flights for me. But I had fun figuring it out because, like you said, we're kind of, points
It's
geeky.
addictive. It's addictive.
It is. We're points geeky that way.
Oh, 100%. Listen, it's the only game in the world where as soon as you start playing it, you immediately know that you want to play more of it. Nothing beats beds on planes for free. Nothing beats bed. It's all about the beds. Either you're someone who's flown on beds on planes or you're someone who hasn't. Either you're somebody who gets on planes and you turn left or you get on planes and you turn right. You absolutely don't need to pay for it. Here's a great stat for you. 85% of people in business class aren't paying for it one way or another. Either they're using points, miles, or it's being paid for by their company. So there's actually very, very few people that are actually putting their hand in their pocket for $5,000-10,000 to get a bed on a plane for 7 hours. The vast majority of people are people that are playing the game. And it's not a game where we're not breaking any rules, we're not breaking any terms and conditions. We are simply maximizing every step of the transaction. Points are a currency. They're no different to euros, yen, Bitcoin. You buy them at a rate and you sell them at a rate. It's just dressed up in spending it on your credit card and redeeming it through air miles. And unlike every other transaction that is weighted equally, the buying and the selling, the buying of these points is really only 25%, maybe 30%. And the selling or the redeeming, the burning, the using, however you like to describe it, is 70%. I want to make that super clear for anyone who's listening. Jumping on a call with me for 10 minutes and choosing your credit cards represents 30% of the transaction. 70% of it is how you use those points. And that's where, unfortunately, the large amount of education, information is that has to be navigated. But it can be done. I've built an entire business, a community, and a lifestyle around that 70%. And it works. It's just math. There's no magic. There's no gatekeeping. There's no secrets. I actually don't love the word hacking. Hacking implies that you're like cheating or breaking something. I'm not. We're just we're just maximizing it. That's all we're doing.
Exactly. You're a points expert. Well, Owen, thank you so much. Remind the listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, thepointspartner.com or at thepointspartner on wherever you like to induce yourself with social media.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on the KeeKee's Big Adventures Family Travel Podcast. Visit the episode webpage for all the details from today and lots more travel planning resources. We look forward to traveling with you on the next episode. Adventure awaits.